Aloha and welcome to another MC-707 tutorial. I am Unit E, and in this video we're going to take a look at wave scanning and the ways we can do it. Now towards the end we're going to also look in that mod matrix and set it up for the modulation of doing this. But I have found a way to scan through the oscillators or the partials of a tone track using either physically a manual knob, or we're going to demonstrate using an envelope and also using an LFO. So let's dig into it. Now if you watched my other video where I showed you about random and cyclic tones or partials, then you know about splitting your oscillators into different velocity ranges. If not, I will quickly show you what you need to do and the values they need to be. Press Shift and Sound from the main menu or any on a tone track, and in the control parameter here on the left, hit Enter. Use the cursor arrows right to go through these top tabs here. 6 presses will get you to partial range. Within this, you'll have all of your 4 partials or your oscillators, and you want to set them in different velocity ranges. You'll see a key range and a key fade. Ignore that and look for velo range, lower and upper. PMT1 will be set to 1 and 31 for the lower and upper. These values will also be in the description. Next, PMT2 will be 32 and 63. 3 will be 64 to 95, and then 4 will be 96 to 127. Once you've set those ranges, sorry, I have one more thing, and you've separated each partial or PMT into its own range, cursor to the left one time and turn velocity control to off. Once you've done that, you can exit out of the menu. Now, what I'm going to demonstrate, I've just loaded an initial tone, which is just a basic saw wave at first, as you know, but I changed it and made 3 oscillators here. The first one is a sine wave. The second is a square wave with some pulse width and modulation. The third is another sine wave with a bit of pulse width modulation to itself. So just 3 oscillators or partials. Okay. What I'm going to do is I want to assign the mod knob to scan or play only that partial. As I move the knob, it's going to play and move through the partials. So let's try it. I'll demonstrate and show you how to set it up. Press the button. That's our sound. Now as I turn the mod knob, it's going to scan or slide through the waveforms. You could hear, because I don't have the fade on the velocity ranges in that menu, if you apply a fade to each of those, you'll be able to transition smoothly between the waveforms. I'll demonstrate that later as we look on another track. But I want you to hear as I go through each of these: sine wave, square wave, and sine wave. So 3 different waves by using sys control. So let's look at how we do that. Once you've split all your oscillators into different velocity ranges and turned velocity control off in this menu, cursor and navigate your way over to matrix 1, which is right here. You're going to hit enter because you need to get into a little more detailed control of this to make this work. You get into this little edit menu. Now it might look like a lot's going on, but you can do this quite easily. Using your cursor arrows, you're going to select your source. In this case, we want our source to be sys control 1. Now, as long as you see as I cursor down, I go down to each 1, 2, 3 partial. If I go up to the top, I can click the sys C knobs to include those partials or oscillators. 1, 2, and 3. 4 is not active because I have it turned off. But now 1, 2, and 3 will all be controlled the same as I make any adjustments, as you'll see. If I choose my source, you'll see all of them change at the same time because they're all activated. I want every partial to have sys control 1 assigned to it. Then use your cursor right to navigate right one time, and you're going to choose a destination, which is that PMT. This is where it's useful to have all of them active. You can now change their assignment all at the same time. Putting them all in the same, and then setting the sensitivity levels all the same. Have all the sensitivity set just where it is to control your range, and leave it at that. Exit out of that menu, and now you've put the assignment of syscontrol 1 to scan through the oscillators. Exit out of that, press knob assign with that track assigned, and use the C2 or 1, 2, or 3 to assign one of these 3 knobs to syscontrol 1 for physical hands-on control of wave scanning. Now, if you want to modulate this and have it work through movement or an automation of it, you can motion record your syscontrol knob or your mod knob and do it that way. That's a live way of doing it and gives it your personal touch. Or you can go for the cyclic form of an LFO or an envelope. So I'm going to show you how to set both of those up now. Choose your patch. We're just going to choose this one. It's another bass patch. You could hear that wavering and that LFO happening and automating that kind of pulse sound, right, happening. That is the LFO moving through the waveforms, allowing the playing of the waveforms to kind of scan back and forth through. Let's take a look at how it's set up. Shift and sound, much like you did with your syscontrol, you're going to do now just change that from to LFO 1 or 2, whichever one you want to use. Hit enter, back down into here, and all you have to do is cursor left one time back to the source and cycle through what you want your source to be. Okay. Side note, get creative and find different sources to affect these different things. This is what the mod matrix is about. LFO is now our source. Okay. Also, what I did is you'll see that I set syscontrol 1 now. This is another mod matrix lane. If I hit enter, you'll see that I'm on, I have to go to matrix 3 here up on top. Scan to matrix 3. Then back down, you'll see my source is now that syscontrol 1, but I've assigned that to something different. I've assigned it to the rate of the LFO. So while I hit this, it scans through those waves. Now I can make it go faster, and you'll hear it as I turn this up. Now I've limited it so it doesn't go too crazy. You decide how far you'd like to do, but listen. Scanning through. Just like the other way, but you get to play with the LFO, and I've stacked another mod giving me physical control of something else to keep it creative and still automating the scanning through the oscillators. Last one I'll show you on this bass line. This one is the envelope working it, and we'll look at that now. Here on 1, it's the TVA envelope, which is your amplitude envelope. So the envelope that you set right down here, this attack, decay, sustain, release, that is going to control scanning through the waveforms, right, through these waveforms. But now you can hear the envelope. Let's go through. You hear it kind of peak up to one of them and then drops back down. So get creative with that. It's a great way to do it. I'll give you a little better show of that here with these sounds. I've taken 4 separate oscillators on this track, okay, and made them all completely different so you'll hear them, and they're all samples. And we are using, on this one is the LFO. Let's use one with the PMT control. Sys control is PMT, set to the depth. I went maximum depth, and you have to do this to get the full scan, otherwise you don't get the full scan. But just like on that bass one, our source is sys control 1 with highlighting all of our 4 partials, cursor right, destination to PMT, and sensitivity all the way to plus 63. Now we go back out of there, and we can listen to each of the sounds, holding one note. Okay? It's now starting to introduce, as you see, it's a little smoother blending of the two. And as that first one fades out, you can hear this third one coming in. The go-go rhythmic thing. And then it's going to go into more rhythmic kind of drops in. So you can hear it sweep through the 4 different sounds. Now let's try it with an LFO. A very slow LFO. As I hold it, you hear the other sounds come in and the first one sweep out. And then it will go back. This is all based on your LFO settings. I think I have this set to speed, so you can hear it cycling through quicker and quicker and slower. Wave scanning. Different ways to set it up. Get into that mod matrix. Have a play with the from and set that 2 to the wave scan as one of your destinations to really open up some creative sounds. Both of these were just made from an initial tone and building and placing things in the oscillator. This can be done with any presets that use multiple oscillators, and you can just set the same settings within that control. This can be done also on the MC-101 with the partial editing. The only thing that restricts you from doing this fully on the 101 is separating it into velocity ranges. That is not currently possible on the 101, but look for a link in the description below where I give you an initialized tone track or tone with the partials split into velocity ranges, and then a second one that will have the fade. So you'll have 2 different ways of doing it, and then from there all you need to do is start playing with the mod matrix at the end of the partial editor section. I'll try to make a video on that specifically for the 101 to follow this, but for now, this is on the 707. Any questions below about how to do this or some further tips and tricks, please leave a comment below and I'm happy to answer them. Also, click like, thumbs up if you liked it and you found this very helpful so we can share this knowledge with others. Subscribe so you can stay on top of what I'm doing, and ring the bell so you get notified of what I'm doing. As always, I really thank you for watching, and it feels good to be back with these tutorials. Expect a lot more coming real soon.